Okay, well that means it's 2 o'clock somewhere, everybody. What do you think about that? Howdy, howdy, howdy. Welcome and hello, happy Friday Fun Day. My name is Rob Appell. It's always weird when I touch this button and all of a sudden you're all just there, like that. Boom! I've been watching the comments. I see you're all excited to be joining in. I'm very excited to have you all out there. I might have made them, I might have forgotten to get all the sweat off my face and all of that from running around. It's funny, I realized that this is one of the first times in the longest time I haven't been like, oh, I've been having tech problems all morning, and how fun is it? We think we finally have some of these solutions to some of our technology issues and things we like to have here on our Friday. Another quick announcement, and I'm not sure if it's to our advantage or disadvantage, but I had the afternoon coffee early. It's almost done. Let's check the overhead camera. There it is. So it's almost done right now. Yeah, you're nervous. I'm holding a cup of coffee over a beautiful white quilt. We'll talk about that in a minute. I'm nervous too. But yeah, I'm often in a rush to get off camera so I can go make my coffee. And this afternoon, I'm going to go visit with a friend who's going to hopefully help me with one of my woodshop tools. I Tom Sawyered my neighbor Brian into helping me adjust the level and putting new blades on my planer. He reached out and asked me if I had a planer he could borrow, and I said, as a matter of fact, I do. So I'm not sure if that should be my new nickname. I like the nickname Little Rob an awful lot, but I'm thinking that Little Tom might be my better nickname as I've been learning this last week. And Tom Sawyer, many of my good friends have been doing many of my not so fun projects that I need to get done. Pretty cool that way. All right, so we're playing around. We make sure all the cameras are working. This is great. Welcome, everybody. If you're not sure what's going on, this is the live feed here from Stitchin Heaven. My name is Rob Appell. I make quilts and other things, primarily quilts right now. But I love doing all kinds of arts and crafts. And if you followed my story a little bit, I am a recovering alcoholic, and keeping these hands busy has really been key to my success in recovery. Next month will be 12 years, and we'll talk about that next month. About that. But today we're going to talk about a bunch of fun sewing projects. I've got a bunch of questions to answer. My goodness, there's been so much positive feedback and questions asked. I want to make sure I'm giving you all the right directions and motivation you need. So we're going to do that today. We'll go over the Grateful List, which is just a fun way of checking in and reminding ourselves that it is the most important and grateful. So if you're logging in, please, if you haven't already, let me know where you're coming from. I see Germany out there, and I know there was Florida. Oh, the music is still going. Thank you. I do that all the time. I know. I just start talking and I forget. I am my own producer. Thank you, everybody. And I try not to focus so much on the comments while I'm presenting because I like to have shows that are presentations, and then we'll get to the comments later. But thank you very much for letting me know that I'm just talking. Sorry about that. Good. Well, at least I got you to comment. Yes, Carl, all stars do rule. I love that. All right, folks, so let's get right into the heat of things with all of our show and tell and all of our announcements and all of that stuff while I sip one more coffee and settle in. As I was saying, welcome to everybody that couldn't hear me over the loud music. Maybe we'll just get rid of those files in here so that we don't have any more of that corrupt behavior. That is so good. That is so good. I'm afraid, though, that it might kick in and we might start going extra fast. So I had mentioned earlier, we hit last week a real fun milestone of 50,000 subscribers. That's going up real quickly, and thanks to all of you out there. So if you haven't subscribed, please make sure you do so. If you're a fan from before, or you know of your friends or fans from before when I used to do my other videos in other places, please let them know that I am now here at Stitchin Heaven. I've been here about a year creating fun content, and we've got a great year in store for you. Super excited about all of that coming up. Let's get in with our show and tell a little bit. If you didn't see New Year's Day, we did our annual mystery quilt sew along. Sometimes it's on New Year's Day, sometimes it's on New Year's Eve based on what day Sunday is. That's why we change that sometimes. So my friend Tiffany Hayes and I did a really fun project, and here's Tiffany Hayes' colorway in the batiks. But last week I was talking about one of my major reasons I sew is for my therapy And so I realized I needed to get just some regular sewing done, not work for all you guys or not work for down the road projects, but just get back to my fun sewing. And I had told my buddy Andrew Lee, the combat quilter, that I had all my red and white squares done, which I did, and I had some stripes done. So anyways, I sewed all last weekend, and I promised y'all I would show you my quilt top. So there it is. Let me rotate it. It's a 5x6, so 30 squares in there, 2 different styles. We have 2 different formulas of instructions you can watch, and all of the videos and all of the quilts I talk about today in the show, they're just going to be in the description below. So let me just put that up real quick. I'm going to say link in the description. And so I'm going to be talking about several of the videos and the quilts that are around behind me. These are a lot of the questions I've been getting. And so all of these links are already in the description below for after today's video. You can check those out. So this is the Rob colorway, the patriotic colorway, definitely something that could be given to one of our veterans. This is, I'm sorry, I didn't check this morning. I do not know if kits are still available at Stitchin Heaven or not. I plan to free motion quilt this in the very near future. I want to come up with a couple of very simple ways. I know there's some of you out there that have your tops done, but now maybe a little overwhelmed by the next step. I get that way too. So in the very near future, I'm going to figure out a great way that we can do some easy free motion quilting on this together. I might do it on my long arm, and I might do it here at what I call domestic or my seated machines. I know many more of you have these machines, but man, I'll tell you, once it gets to getting the job done, I do love having my long arm to work with as well. So that's pretty awesome. Excited about that, but very pleased with the way that turned out. There was one of you stinkers, and I should have put it up for the comment of the week, but when I mentioned on our Facebook group for the mystery quilt sew along that I still had several blocks to do, one of you quilt stinkers out there mentioned I better sharpen my seam ripper because I was going to most likely need it. So therefore I challenged myself to staying focused and chain piecing, and I'm happy to admit I think, unless you just saw something I haven't, got all of the blocks built correctly first time around. But I do know that the first time I was teaching it, I didn't have that happen. I got some of my corners rotated. So at any rate, I'm bragging a bit that I had a lot of fun sewing that, but staying focused on making sure that I could prove you stinkers wrong out there was what I think was my health benefit of the sewing this weekend. Is it was really great to have something to put my mind into because I've been feeling a bit overwhelmed. We're going to talk about the grateful list in a little bit, but I will mention real quickly that number 1 on the grateful list right now is rest, and knowing when to rest and when not to rest. And so we'll get back to that. But yeah, I was feeling a bit overwhelmed with all of the things I was working on, and having a great sewing project helped me release some of that negative feelings I was having. Last week, I promised I would talk more about these incredible sneakers. These are made with the New Worlds fabrics. New Worlds fabrics, this is the fabric line I designed for Benartex, and it features some really fun geometry. These are the sneaker kits, and these were made by hand from my friend, my new best friend actually, named Joan at bucklebeebags.com. Let me put up her website real quick. Her link's also there. Bucklebeebags.com is the website, and she really sells primarily tools and things for making stuff like we like to make, such as these shoes. Now next month, and I'm just going to put these on because they're just so stinking comfortable, but I do need help. I'm not sure how I'm doing with my sock choices, so we're going to have maybe a little sock pull down the road and make sure that we have the right sock choices going with these shoes, because I'm not used to wearing low tops, and I love these shoes. These are quickly becoming my favorite sneakers by far, but I want to make sure that I've got, appropriate socks going on as well. So anyways, I feel like a little bit like Mr. Rogers right now. I think these cool coffee colored skulls make a nice fit with the black shorts and the black shoes. Pretty excited about that right now. And so at any rate, do stay posted. That will be more information going on Joan's website as well as Benartex's website. That starts up in February, and I've got a fun little video or two I'm working on for all of you with that. But nonetheless, I want to let you know these shoes are awesome, and I'm loving them, and thanks again, Joan. They arrived in the mail like literally moments before last week's video went live, so I was clueless on what was going on. So it's going to be a really fun sew-along program with the Bucklebee bags, and and Banner Tex Fabrics, and of course the New Worlds by yours truly. So that's pretty exciting. And you know, what's funny is I was going to talk about some of the quilts, but I'm pretty excited. This week I shared this photo last week. This was me working on blending some colors for what you were looking at was the original New Worlds. The next line, which is called Newer Worlds, and the black and white images there are called Newest Worlds, and I'm blending all of the colors working from the shadow blush, which is actually the background. Here, maybe I can show it better here, but some of these fabrics here are the shadow blush fabrics that are the backgrounds or the basics from Banner Tex themselves. So at any rate, last week I shared this, and then my friends sent me their photos of what they had been working on. So Scott Hansen, Blue Nickel Studios, thanks buddy. This is rad. He loves making these little houses, and look at how fun and bright. I mean, talk about, that is a really happy little town there. And then he also makes gift bags. I shouldn't spoil the news, but he teaches often, and so he's making these great little gift bags using the New Worlds fabrics. And then also our fearless leader, Deb Luttrell, has started a new quilt project, and our spies have confirmed that she's also using New Worlds right now. The black fabric is not New Worlds, but it's pretty dang radical. It's a great choice, Deb. I'm not sure what you're doing here, but I love it. I'm sure of that. Also in show and tell, here's one of the pictures I was able to take, so you can see the green fabric a little better there that Joan used in my shoes, and the black trim and the quilting on them, and they're just so comfortable. They're like wearing socks that don't get wet when you step in a puddle. So pretty excited about this, folks. Pretty dang jazzed about all of that show and tell, like I said. Now, I was distracted as I was going along, and I want to talk about some of the quilts and some of the questions we're getting in the comments during the quilt videos. So here we go. This week I had incredible luck with the Great Beginner Quilt Project. That's what I was calling it. Now here's the story behind it, folks. The real project is called That Yoda Guy Quilt. And I was afraid if I called it That Yoda Guy Quilt, you wouldn't know what you were looking for. And it's such a fantastic beginner quilt. And one of the things that I'm really made aware of different times throughout the year, but had been made aware recently, is the need for sharing our quilting skills with the folks that want to learn to quilt, the folks that are watching us or feeling our quilts and being recipients of our quilts. There are so many people out there that are really interested in learning this. And some folks learn very well through videos, and some folks learn better with hands-on. And so I just want to remind all of us the importance of hands-on teaching and sharing with our neighbors and our community. So at any rate, there's some really cool tips and techniques that happened in last week's video. I called it Great Beginner Quilt because it is, and my goodness, that title got us a ton of views, and so I'm really excited about that. Check it out if you haven't seen it. You're just using two different size squares, 3.5 and the 4-inch. The 4.5 inches are combined to make half square triangles. Oh, maybe out overhead will be better for this. So here we've got these half square triangles, and those are made by using your larger squares, sewing them together and trimming them down. It's all in the videos, but just really cool and easy. But I find that some of these projects like this work best when you're using these larger square format. It gets the job done really easy, and it gives you an easier union on some of these points and whatnot. So again, there's some great tips in last week's video on how you can help and share our love of quilting with your friends and neighbors. And it's a great stash burner. Again, you can just go through. I did and made a bunch of strips out of my stash. Well, then I had to iron them. Then I had to cut them. And then I had to cut them into squares, and then I had to cut those squares. So maybe what I'm getting at is, yes, folks, there is a pre-cut kit available from us here at stitchinheaven.com. We'd love to sell you one. It's pretty dang awesome, and it's all batiks and things as well. So, of course, I was pulling your leg a little bit, but I did make mine out of my stash, but I don't think I'd ever do that again. I have fallen in love with our pre-cut kits. And when I say pre-cut, that doesn't mean they're made only using 5-inch squares or 10-inch squares or 2.5-inch strips. It means they're cut and ready for you to begin sewing, and a lot of these you won't need a rotary cutter for at all. Some of them, like with the New Year's Day, you'll do strip sewing and then cut those down into squares or subcuts, so you may need limited rotary cutting or subcutting down the road, something like that. But so we do have a lot of these cuts as pre-cuts. So the other question I get a lot of the times is, what is that quilt behind you? Now, folks, words matter, okay? So a lot of times I'm standing in front of my design wall. So the first answer is that the quilt behind me is called design wall. Nothing's on it. But that's because you're referring to the thumbnail. Well, I think you're talking about this quilt here, and this quilt here is from the Splice Magic book. I've got a video tutorial there. There's the cover of the book, and it's actually the cover quilt called Synergy, but I remixed the colors to blend out the background, and so it's called the Synergy Remix. I don't know if we still have kits available or not for that project, but there are two tutorials. There's the short form with all the lights on, but it was really fun when I first joined Stitchin Heaven. Deb kind of gave me the keys and let me break in, and I did. I did a full-blown video from cutting to trimming to putting it together to quilting it on the long arm and binding it overnight, spending my night in the quilt shop because, I mean, come on, folks. How many of you have not wanted to get locked in your favorite department store, aka Stitchin Heaven quilt shop, and spend all night all by yourself just touching and playing with everything that you've always wanted, right? So that was the concept behind the video project, and it was super fun. And it is actually quite legible, but there is one with the lights on too. So both of those videos I just shared, the quilt shop break-in and the Splice Magic, or excuse me, the Synergy Remix, are this quilt here using the Splice Magic technique. And the Splice Magic technique is going to create a large and two small half square triangles within one series of patchwork, and it's really cool. And again, like that Yoda Guy quilt where you're using half square triangles and squares, there's 1,000,006 different designs. It's 1,000,007 different designs out there that you can do with just that combination. These ones we're thinking in squares. The trick to Synergy, and I think I'll do a like a Synergy reboot or a review on the Synergy skill sets, because the book has a bunch of great quilts in it. So of course you're going to want the book, but you're thinking rectangles, folks. The best tip I can give you today on a Friday Live is please think and design in rectangles, not in squares, because of the way your units are going to go. You can do a lot with mirrored images, but think in rectangles, not in squares. And that was one of the design tricks that really helped me rearrange this quilt as well. And let's give Abby Stevens the credit. She's the one who recolored this for me and said, here, Rob, follow this pattern. It'll be awesome. And it is. So anyways, this is the one a lot of you asked me about. It's technically called Synergy Remix. There may still be kits available. Please check out our website. But there are two different videos that will teach you how to make it yourself out of your stash. Now, I also get asked about this quilt here. Now, this quilt here that you see is the strip piece tumbling block quilt. And that's the quilt that is now on the backdrop when I'm in Texas. So here I'm in California today, right, with the Synergy quilt, and often I'm filming in Texas. You'll see the two white cabinets on either side of me, and then I've got the strip piece tumbling blocks, which I actually made one day to be a stinker. I can be a stinker too, right? While Anita was trying to do her Coffee with Anita show live, I was sewing in the background, taking this really cool bundle of half yards. Now, the disadvantage in this project, and I don't think you can really see it, actually, funny enough, you can see it better in the picture behind the Yoda Guy quilt, same quilt we're discussing here, but I didn't use the common background fabric, and so not using a common background fabric made it a little hard to read and translate the project. So when I show you this thumbnail, same instructions, but better layout and probably a better set of instructions, because guess what, folks? It was the third time I did it. So anytime we do something over and over again, I think we can get better at it. Here's this quilt on the wall. So the double tumbler here is the newest. This is the one that uses the New Worlds fabrics and the solids and the shadow blush from Benartex. And it's really fun and easy, but the thing that I like most about this project when it comes to simplicity of design and instruction is the fact that you'll notice all of the background fabrics, or the fabric that's meant, excuse me, going too fast, the fabric that is meant to break apart the background big tumbling blocks and the small interior tumbling blocks, they're all the same. So it makes the optical illusion in this quilt very, very easy to see. Now this one I did check, we do have kits available, that's what it looks like. And you'll also notice that new fully pre-cut ready to sew emblem we're using. We were talking to some of you about that at Sewing Expo. This is our way of saying you don't need your rotary cutter in this. All of the strips have been pre-cut down for you, and you are ready to rock and roll on this project, which I think is pretty dang great. So at any rate, having a lot of fun with that. And also while we're into show and tell mode, oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, I know, caffeine's kicking in. I have a trick I want to show you about these Panasonic irons here in a moment, as soon as we get through our show and tell. So today we're going to do a sewing tip as well in just a few minutes. A pressing tip, or how to not make a mess while pressing, is what we're really going to talk about. Arabella, this is awesome. I mentioned it last week. I want to make sure you don't miss out on your opportunity, folks. This is our block of the month, and it starts next month. We have pre-cut kits available, but we don't have 1,000,007 of them, okay? So if you want to follow along, please make sure you get your kit right away. I'm not messing around with this because, oh, and if you haven't registered, check it out. You can right now register for just $1 for our block of the month. There's that coupon code WBBOM, right? Web block of the month. And you can get your registration in for $1, and then you would want to do the Arabella block of the month. I suggest the pre-cut kit. And with that, I'm telling you, I'm going to start sewing the month-by-month tutorials. So we've been doing some fun block of the month welcome videos because we're building our block of the month headquarters here on YouTube for Stitchin Heaven. Let me address a question real quick about that. I put up a video yesterday about our Fields of Flora by Verna Mosquera. Oh no, is it the vintage spool? I just forgot your business name, Verna. I'm so sorry. I'm very embarrassed about that. But nonetheless, her Fields of Flora quilt that I put up yesterday, like all of her quilts, is absolutely gorgeous. But folks, that one is already sold out. There are many of you that have already commented asking about that project. And the welcome videos are to start guiding the folks that are participating. It's not meant to be trying to sell you stuff. It's meant to help you because you've already sold. We're here about adding to your experience, right? We're quilters together. So I'm now warning you, if you don't want to miss out, get in on Arabella. Make sure you purchase your kits. I am starting in on the videos. It'll be normally the 3rd week of each month. But February, it'll be the 2nd week of February. Because this year, February, we have a leap year. We get a bonus tutorial, folks. This is going to be radical. I've already mapped it out. So at any rate, awesome batiks, beautiful deep purples, down the light greens, some really deep earthy rich colors is Arabella. So I have this on my to-do list because I'm starting the tutorial creations next week for all of us, and that's really excited. But I noticed that some of you were disappointed about Fields of Flora. So again, I'm telling you, don't miss out on your Arabella block of the month. That's going to be super exciting. Let me check out my notes. Oh, also, while you're on the website, you might as well take advantage of Panel Palooza, January 25th through 26th. Buy 2 panels, get 1 free. There's a coupon code there for you. We do a lot of this stuff, folks, so make sure you're checking out our website on the daily. If nothing else, we've got our wonderful flash sales going on and all kinds of different stuff for you out there, just to kind of have fun, make sure that you're getting what you need. And of course, any order over $99, I will get you your free shipping. So now I see I've got some questions. Let's do a quick comments and questions check. Then we'll do our sewing tip, and then we'll do our grateful list for the week. Okay, let me make sure I haven't missed anybody here. Just give me a moment, if you will. Okay, that's where the music cut out. Great. Yeah, I know. I was being loud over the music. All right. Great. I see many of the all-stars are out there. Ah, Nancy Gilbert. Good eye. You've noticed the new guitar. Yeah, my son ran off with the other one, and this one kind of camouflages into the background. But if you've heard my story about always choosing something artistic to be working on that is not quilting related, so that I can just be being an artist and having fun when you're all not watching me. This was the project that taught me that. I got to make that guitar from a kit. So I bought all the parts already ready-made, and I got to stain it and put in all the parts and assemble it and glue the neck in and all of that. And so if you've seen my guitar quilt applique pattern, the Les Paul guitar that was photographed was actually hanging right here in the photograph originally, is that guitar right there. So anyways, it's a lot of fun. Nancy, great to see you. And again, thank you for noticing my new guitar. That's because, yeah, Braden ran off with the other one. He likes it because it's got a lot of reverb in it. All right. Excellent. Quick question. Okay, Teresa, I'm not sure I'm understanding the question about the log cabin. I am working on a log cabin video right now, so let me really focus here. You guys know I'm much better at coloring than reading. Um, okay, if I'm understanding the question, when making a curved log cabin, can you use a larger light strip and a smaller colored strip for a different look? My answer to every quilt design, and please forgive me, is it's your quilt. You may do whatever you like. Now here's the technical answer. Before I burn into my good fabric that I love, I go back to my stash of things that are left over from other projects and I experiment with the concept before I really do the patchwork with the stuff that has been purchased for that project. Because you may find you want to maybe make your strips the same size, but still your lights and darks. Remember, some of the tricks to the log cabin block is having lights on one side and darks on the other, whether it's curved or straight piecing. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question or not, so throw me a follow-up question in here. I will check back before the end of the video. Excellent. Okay, so I promised you all, excuse me, that I wouldn't, my nose is itching, a little bit of a sewing tip. And so what I want to do, now this thing has been turned off. I want to talk about these Panasonic 360 cordless irons because so many of you have them because of my recommendation and I absolutely love them. But what I've been noticing is when I'm pressing sometimes is I'll get a bunch of schmutz, and that's a sewing term for schmutz, all over the bottom side or the seams. And what it is it's like this, oh here, I've got a camera ready for this. Here we go. This is the schmutz cam. There it is. Let me hold it still. See this stuff? And this is fiber. That is not rust. That's just, I think, a lot of built up dust and fiber from the wool mat of all things, because I've got my wool cutting mat, you know, that I'm always ironing on over here and whatnot. So at any rate, what we're going to do real quick is we're going to clean this thing. And the easiest way to do it so you don't make a mess is there's a little push button on the handle so you can remove your reservoir. And I set it up so it doesn't leak all over because it could drip down. Now, what I have found is that I just could use a baby wipe. Make sure your iron's cold. So you're going to do this at the beginning of the morning, not at the end. Do it before you get started for the day. And then I just take my mister bottle, right? I'm just going to go ahead. If you don't have regular baby wipes or some sort of a moist cloth, you're just going to want to go ahead and get a little bit of a damp cloth, fold it over, and I'm just using, again, a paper towel. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to put it in this groove. And I'm going to go ahead and clean this. Now look, folks, let's go to overhead schmutz cam. Okay, so this is what's coming out here. And I have been noticing if I don't clean it, it gets onto some of my seams. But if it does come out and I'm steaming, because it does have a color to it, I could soil my fabric. And I don't want you to do that. But so this little groove, I guess I haven't noticed it on other irons. So what I've gotten in the habit of doing is on my weekly chores, as I go around and I dust off, cleaning, again, just with a wet, damp paper towel or a baby wipe. Don't need anything more than that. And I'm going to get all the dust here off of the iron and out of those grooves. Okay? Then make sure the bottom doesn't have anything hanging out in it. Of course, you could use an air compressor out in the garage. Okay, if you don't have an air compressor out in the garage, this would be a great excuse for you to purchase an air compressor to keep in the garage because, you know, we all need that. And then the other thing I've noticed too is that I get a little bit of dust and fuzz and whatnot that builds up inside of here. So with that same wet paper towel, you know, I just coming in and just cleaning this off periodically to make sure that I don't have any schmutz in here. Okay, and then as we go ahead and get ready to reassemble the iron, I like to drop that back in its base, come around here, make sure that's nice and secure, and now I'm just going to dust that off. You might want to take a moment to fill it up or whatnot. And then clean everything else off there, and that really helps. And Remember the show and tell from earlier, right? This giant white quilt. This is when I started to notice that if I'm not careful, it could add up. Now, fortunately, I didn't have any disasters, but I do often press from the top and I'm pressing into my seam. So if I've got a bulky seam that catches that dust, it certainly has made a mess in the past. Fortunately, it didn't happen on this project, but I thought it would be just a great tip to offer for all of you. I know it's nothing exciting, but I'll tell you, if you've ever gotten permanently damaged fabric from something you didn't intend to do, it's frustrating. So hopefully that will help someone out there today, especially with your Panasonic irons. These things are fantastic. I love the fact that it's completely 360. I love the fact that it's got different steam settings. It works terrific, but in the fact that I'm always using it next to my little wool pressing mat, I've just found that I've been starting to build up a lot more fiber in there, but I wouldn't sacrifice this combination of tools. I just needed to add in this combination of tools of a spray bottle and a paper towel. I think that works pretty dang good. Okay, so I think there was one last thing we were going to talk about, which is the grateful list, and here we are. Okay. So I mentioned earlier, and please feel free to put what you're grateful in today. If you're watching this down the road recorded, feel free to put what you're grateful for. I appreciate all of you sending me emails, letting me know you're grateful for me. It really does mean the world to me, folks. And now that we're back on number one, what am I grateful for today? I'm going to talk about the word rest. And funny enough, I learned I was very busy the last week of December and then into the last couple weeks. And a lot of times, because I do suffer from depression, that down cycle can be a bit of a challenge. So it's been a good week of work for me, getting some of the background administrative things and that kind of things taken care of, a lot of organizing. But I also found a need for rest. I guess the jet lag kind of caught up with me late. And so I've been finding that having restful projects and not pushing myself was actually something that became a blessing. So learning to rest and how to rest for me, somebody that doesn't rest often, has actually been a key to my health and my success. My sewing space. Even though I didn't know what to do with myself, I was very overwhelmed. My to-do list got too big, is really the story. I'm trying to not tell you, but this happens to me, folks. I get so many ideas and I just don't know where to start. I stand in front of this camera all day telling you all to get started, and the moment it goes off, I sometimes go hide in a corner and I don't know where to start myself. I'm sorry, I'm human, even though I'm a quilt maker, right? This is why we come to quilting. So with that, I just needed to get started. And so I spent a lot of time in my sewing space this week because I love my sewing space. Even though I didn't have many things to start on, like I said, finishing sometimes is the key to starting, because I could feel the benefits of running the machine, sending stitches downrange, thank you, Mark, and just feeling great about things. And so that started pulling me out of the downward spiral, and I started getting excited about starting new projects and actually sewing on some things. And like I said, having some fun. And one of those things that was the fun is leading to relationships. I wasn't necessarily going to mention my friend Charisma Horton because I talk about her often, but she's just a dear, blessed person in my life, and she's a great in those relationships worlds, and she's constantly helping me make and solidify relationships. So I think of her often when I say relationships. Originally, when I wrote this, I was thinking about actually Benartex and Joan and my fun new sneakers and all that. Those of you who are tuning in, look at those sneakers and the flexibility, by the way. So it was really, really fun to get the offer and to get the surprise sneakers in the mail, and that's because of some of the relationships I've been blessed to create over time. So it's not what you know, folks, it's who you know, and not only who you know, but how you take care of them and how you support them. So don't forget about those relationships out there, and don't forget to take a moment and solidify some of those ones, because we just don't ever know when we're not going to have another second to let somebody know how much we love them. And let's move on from that. Okay, and the last one is, it is Friday afternoon, and that means more rest, because I can feel it in my body and I'm learning in my system. And this is one of those things that I know, okay, it is time to rest. Last week I filmed a tutorial right before I went live, and it was really busy, and I kind of spun myself out and all of that, and I'm really excited. Like I said, I'm working on this new fun, the easiest log cabin you'll ever do project, but it's not ready to be filmed yet. So I'm going to rest. I'm going to film it now on Monday. It's the end of the Friday. My wife and I have a lot of fun things planned for this weekend. Well, she's got fun things planned for me, which is me cooking a bunch of food for the rest of the week. We're going to get into more meal planning. It's kind of fun. You hear a lot of these I wanna stuffs that are a lot of think about like that beginning of the year, that starting fresh, that rebuilding of what's going on out there. So at any rate, yeah, I am very excited. And when I went to mention my sewing space, I did put up a few pictures, but I forgot to share them with you all. So I'll get this done, check on the comments, and get on out of here. And oh no, I just caught Deb's comment. Yes, Deb, I've already talked to Joan about your yellow sneakers. We'll see what happens. So here's my sewing space. Early one morning this week here, my wetsuit ripped, and I was out at the beach. And the fun thing is, yes, I can sew, and I can sew everywhere, and I feel blessed that I can sew every day. But yeah, I got the wetsuit fixed in time to go out and enjoy some beautiful surf early in the morning. And it is just such a neat and great opportunity to always have skills like this that we can use. So that was a fun little post I put up yesterday, and it was fun. Now, I don't tell all my friends that I can sew, or they'll have me fixing all their stuff for them at the same time. But anyway, let me go ahead and check the rest of these comments. I noticed, yes, our fearless leader Deb is watching, and she wants a pair of yellow sneakers. Oh yeah, Tanya loves her Panasonic iron. Oh, great tip. Use a makeup brush instead of a wet towel. Or maybe even like a dried paintbrush or something like that. I guess we still need a good reason, though, to get the air compressor for the garage, Tanya. Let's not get ahead of ourselves out there. Okay, let's see. Carl is talking to everybody about something. This is great. Okay, now you're all talking with Deb. Okay, this is also great. Oh, I'm seeing the grateful list is building up there. Excellent. Yeah, folks, I think we might have to really support Joan and her sneaker kits here. We could have I'm not exactly sure what the promo is. I'm not supposed to say too much. I just blotched last week when I opened the shoes. So I just promised that I would let everybody know where you can get your sneaker kits. Stay tuned. It's just a few weeks away. Early February, we're going to announce what's going on with those. Now, don't get me wrong. You can go ahead today and go to stitchinheaven.com and just type in the word New Worlds. You'll end up there. That link I didn't put in this morning, but that will take you to our website where you can get a half yard at least of everything. I would probably just get a yard, make it easy on yourself. There's only 9 fabrics, folks, and you can do so many different things with them. Treat yourself. I think if you do the math correctly, that'll push you just over the shipping limit anyway. So it's like you're getting, think about how expensive shipping could be in comparison to all that wonderful fabric. I could spin this a million different ways, right? So at any rate, want to make sure I don't miss any questions. Yes, Katrina, I am feeling left out with everybody talking to each other. So Katrina and I are going to have our own personal conversation right now because I can't read fast enough to see what they're talking about, and I can't hear what's going on. So now Katrina and I are just going to avoid all the rest of you and talk about our own thing, because Katrina and I go way back. I got to help her make a couple of cool quilts way back when. You see, now Katrina and I are, how are the kids, Katrina? You doing okay out there? You guys have a nice holiday and all that? Too much fun. You guys are great. Maybe I shouldn't have had the afternoon coffee earlier. Let me know. Too much caffeine? Is there such a thing? Really? Come on, guys. Awesome. New home. Paula got a new home. That sounds pretty cool. Oh my gosh, yeah, beautiful ocean view. I'm a very blessed individual. In case, Deb, you are still watching, thank you for blessing me with this opportunity to get to be part of the quilting community from my beautiful little small town of Morro Bay and then travel out to hang out in your little small town of Quitman, Texas. Deb promised me this would be perfect for me, and I think everybody watching today will agree. You have really blessed me, Deb. Thank you. I'm going to get a little emotional, but I'm going to sign off nonetheless. because yeah, this has really been incredible for me. And for those of you who just want to know what a great gal Deb is, she and I are constantly sharing fun and design kind of stories. Last night, she sent, I think that's when she started, she sent me a text and said, I hope Benartex has a lot of this fabric on hand. And then I sent her a picture of my shoes. And then, yes, I've already reached out to Deb, to try to get you a pair of size 9s made, yellow. But Deb, you and I need to pick out the other colors to go with them if you're still watching. Anyways, I love you all. Thank you for being here this afternoon. I don't want to sign off, but I probably better. This is great. I'll go back and watch the other comments, get caught up on the conversations that all of you have been having. Thanks for being part of the community. Again, if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do so. If you haven't signed up for the email newsletter, make sure you do that as well. That's just on that bottom blue toolbar there on stitchinheaven.com. We will see you Wednesday with an awesome tutorial coming up, and next week with another fantastic fun Friday live for all of you. Send me an email. Let me know how I can continue to serve you all out there. My email is rob@stitchinheaven.com. Thanks again for being here. Happy Friday, everybody. And don't